Duke is our member at large. He is also our attorney that keeps Fred and I out of prison. We're going to go into special reports, Mr. Aldred.
Hi guys, I'm a little overwhelmed here. Fortunately, they put the hillbilly up first and you get the important stuff later. So this is going to be real quick. We're not going to do a whole lot of business tonight. We did want you to know that on March 12th, we did present our Second Amendment resolution to Town Council. Greg Bolin, the very next morning, put it on the agenda. And Mr. Rawlings, Councilman Rawlings, co-sponsored it the very next day. So it will be on the agenda for discussion and a vote. And we really look forward to that. So, Mr. Bolin, by the way, I'm going to embarrass him, but I believe that he canceled the vacation to make sure he was going to be here for that vote.
All right.
Let's see. On March 19th, we gave a presentation to the Planning Commission. They put it on their agenda to discuss the tree ordinance. Well, to us, that's pretty much a property rights issue. This is the kind of thing that hits us kind of in our wallets, you know, when you need to get permits, committees that tell us when and where we can do what with our own property. So, Planning Commission did a 5-0 vote. They did a lot of discussion, and they said they wanted to present this to Town Council for discussion, and hopefully, in the interest of property rights, suspend the tree ordinance. So we'll see if that hasn't been put on the agenda yet. We hope it will be for the next meeting, and we'll just see how that goes. So that's really just about all the business that we have tonight. We always kind of do something that's usually comic relief. There's some headlines that not everybody gets to see because the media doesn't necessarily pick up on it. But here's one. There's a grade school that bans the word Easter because they don't want to be offensive.
I'm offended. I'm offended.
As well you should be. This is interesting too. Comcast cable. How many of you have Comcast? They have banned all firearm and ammunition advertisements. Good for you. Now and this, I believe, is in Texas. This is a daughter of a Mexican immigrant and an American father, a 15-year-old girl, and she was punished for refusing to recite the Mexican pledge. Punished. What a crowd. And this is Texas, and this kind of blows me away too. Sheriff, you're going to love this one. There's a Texas Democrat that proposes legislation that would remove sheriffs who refuse to enforce gun control laws from office. Stay out of Texas, Sheriff. All right, guys, thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, 230 some odd years ago, 13 small and separate colonies banded together their families and their fortunes to shed the tyrannies of an oppressive government, and these United States were born. And since that time, we have sent our best and our brightest to fight and die, defending us and our allies all across this globe. They have fought in the fields of, is that for me? They have fought in the fields of Europe and in the deserts of Africa. They have fought in the depths of the Atlantic and across every sky, but never as the aggressor. And once vanquished by our blood and treasure, we have never subjugated our beaten enemy. But in fact, we have sent our bricks and our bread to rebuild devastated nations, everywhere from Germany to Afghanistan. But now, ladies and gentlemen, this evil has come to our shores. It is a malignancy that has permeated our government with cancerous tentacles. This evil is called liberalism. Liberalism takes from the producers and gives to the slothful. It taxes wealth in the name of equality. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it seeks to disarm you and me in the name of public safety. Now, tonight you're going to hear from three speakers. First, Chinn with the Flying Brass Firearms Training. He's going to talk to us about stories of ordinary men and women across this country who defend themselves every day from the criminal element. Stories that you won't hear from Dan Rather or Matt Lauer. Then we're going to hear from not only Butte County Sheriff Jerry Smith, but also Undersheriff Kory L regarding the Second Amendment and laws that are rapidly coming upon us that will, in fact, infringe on our Second Amendment laws, or rights. And at the end of the evening, we want you to not just be entertained and educated, we want you to be inspired. We want you to leave with this message tonight, and every night, that reportedly roughly 30% of conservatives in this country did not vote in 2012. And what we want you to remember is that, or the question we're going to ask you tonight, and every night, is, what are you willing to do about that? That's why there's a Tea Party. That's why we're here. Let's get to our speakers. Our first speaker is Special Forces, not only in the Army, but the U.S. Marines. He now runs Flying Brass Firearms Training. Chinn.
What a fantastic showing. This is fabulous. Good evening. Thank you for being here. I'm the owner and senior instructor for Flying Brass LLC. Now you can hear, nobody people don't need a mic for my voice. We train and qualify people for the safe, responsible, and effective use of firearms. Been around firearms all my life. My dad was an old gun trader. Never coming in, never going out, constantly. I started shooting when I was about 4 years old. Been shooting pretty much all my 70 years of life. Love it. I've shot in sport, recreation, competition, and self-defense. Been there. I've been in the Marine Corps, proudly served in the United States Marine Corps. I've also served in the United States Army Special Forces, 12 Special Forces Group, Airborne. I'm going to start with a question tonight. Please, don't feel embarrassed or offended at this question. It actually has a different reason than you might suspect. I would like to ask this audience by a show of hands, how many of you out here are either anti-gun or just sitting on the fence, haven't made up your mind? Please, don't be embarrassed. Raise your hand for me. Now you see the problem. We're preaching to the choir. You know, that's all we're doing. At the gun shows, at the gun clubs, at the range, across the table with a couple guys drinking coffee. I'm not a drinker, so that's the problem we have. We're not getting our message out there. Those of you, though, that did not raise your hand because you don't want to be the one only person out there, I want to thank you for being here, though. And you know in your hearts who you are. Thank you. Because you came here willing to listen. We might not be able to change your mind. That probably won't. But at least you've shown the willingness to come and listen to the other side. The same courtesy I would gladly extend to you, if you have facts. Talking with a gentleman the other day, as my wife can attest to, I talk about guns constantly, even in my sleep. And I will engage anybody in a conversation about firearms. Talking to this gentleman, and he says to me, I don't know why anybody would need 30 rounds in a firearm. Rather than the usual rebuttal, I go, well, I don't understand why you own a Corvette that does 175 miles an hour. He's, well, that's different. Corvettes don't kill people. And he goes, oh, well, I should have said that. That's exactly, I said, the difference is the firearms affects me. The Corvette affects you. And do you believe that a government that has the power to restrict the amount of ammunition you have in a magazine in the name of safety could not also restrict how fast your Corvette's going to go in the name of safety? How would you like to have a 45-mile-an-hour Corvette? You don't think that could happen? How naive can you be? You give them an inch, you're going to take a mile. They already took quite a bit. Another question for you folks. Again, on the show, I love asking people questions. That way I don't have to talk all the time. Think about this. Individually, how many people do you know personally, not the media, not the newspaper, how many people do you know personally have been killed and or injured with a firearm? Raise a hand, please. Maybe 15? How many people out here have known personally someone who has been killed and or injured in an automobile accident? Ho, 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 ho! And yet the guns are bad. And every one of you will leave tonight, get in a car and drive home and not even think twice about it. Guess what, folks? You just fallen victim to the media. They just brainwashed us all. Guns are terrible. There's a lot of information out there about firearms statistics. The problem is there's a lot of information out there. And how do you find the good, the bad, and the indifferent? I don't have an answer for that. I spend hours on the computer trying to figure it out. But I've come up with a few generalities that seem to kind of fall close to what's going on. The United States government did a study. Oh, surprise, surprise. For 2011. And that study showed that between 108,000 and 23 million times a firearm was used to defend the life of a law-abiding citizen. Typical government, you had a span here of forever. Well, I kind of threw that one aside. I started doing some more research. I went to Florida State University. They have a firearm study. It's been ongoing for about 4 million years. There's a doctor there who is a bit of an anti-gun person. So he was going to use the resources of Florida State University to prove how terrible guns were. To the man's credit, he was open-minded. He went into it to get true information. His final summation of all the information he was able to gather was that on average, a firearm is used to defend the life of a law-abiding citizen 2.3 million times a year in this country. Quick math, that's once every 13.7 seconds. But now I mentioned stopped or protected the life. I didn't say anything about shooting, right? Because in 70% of all situations where a firearm is presented in the defense of a person's life, 70% no shots are fired. There's some kind of a string between the muzzle and the guy's hand. He goes, whoa, it's not worth it, and down the road he goes. That's when you 911 it real quick. You call these folks. There's another number out there, though. Fatalities. Handgun fatalities. And you're going to be finding it all over the place. The most extreme number I could find was 23,000 deaths per year attributable to handgun or firearm fatalities. And that is a terrible number. A terrible number. I'm not going to argue that point. What they don't tell you, though, is that 60% of all firearm fatalities are suicides. Suicide. They're going to kill themselves regardless. If they don't use a fire, they're going to use a butcher knife, or they're going to take pills. So we've got to disregard that. I'm sorry. We're going to have to. So that leaves us about 40% of the 23,000. That's still a terrible number. Except for one little fact they always forget to tell you. 50% of all homicides are justifiable homicides. Law enforcement officers killing bad guys, good guys killing bad guys. If you do the math, it comes out for every person killed for the 23,000, there are 100 lives saved. And Obama's own words, we need what we can do to save one life. Well, how about 2.3 million lives? That's what we're really looking at. Not one life, 2.3 million. the solution. I have the solution. Let's get rid of the guns, right? Except for one little fact. Do you really think the drug dealers and the gangbangers want to turn the guns in? It's not going to happen. It didn't happen in Australia, where when they turned the guns, the homicide went up 600%. And we don't even want to talk about Germany and every other country that has lost its rights to protect itself. Every single study has proven that when there's a decrease in guns, there's an increase in crime, period. And for every increase in guns, there is a decrease in crime, period. I mean, what idiot is going to go into a McDonald's to hold up and 35 people are sitting there all carrying concealed? They're not that stupid. Well, yeah, never mind. I'm not going to do that. So why aren't we informed? Why aren't we informed of this information? I mean, if it's out there for me to get, then it should be out there in all the papers and on the TV and everything else, right? Well, for whatever reason, and I'm not going to go with this because that would be another whole 3-hour speech. I've got to keep this at 4. I'm going to let you come to your own thoughts on that as to why you're not informed. But I'm going to tell you right now, the media does not want any pro-gun facts that you can read, hear, or see. Period. And I'm going to prove that locally right now with a story. July 24th, I went over to some friend's house. I'd been invited to attend a meeting on putting together a living trust. Never been in the house before. As I walk up the walkway, the owner's 2 dogs came out of the house and attacked me. Unprovoked, they attacked me. It was a pack attack. One of the dogs ripped off the back of my left hand. It also ripped out all the scar tissue from a recently replaced shoulder. The other dog came around behind me and had me by the back of the right leg, trying to pull me down. The dogs were trying to pull me down to kill me. They pull you down and they take out your jugular vein. I was screaming for help, trying to get somebody to come out there. Nobody would come out. So I shot him. I shot him in the head. My concern was shoot myself in the hand. I carry a legally possessed, legally concealed firearm, and I use it to defend my life. Well, I have to go to the hospital. They did the best they can to put me back together with what pieces were left. The homeowner contacted her insurance carrier. I mean, why should my insurance pay for her dog damage on me? I mean, that's not fair. I don't necessarily like insurance, but nonetheless, fair is fair. They refused to respond. They wouldn't even get back because she said, you should be paying his medical bills. They wouldn't respond. Finally, after many weeks, I have to get myself an attorney. So I get an attorney, and during the course of putting together the case together, I go to the local newspaper. Anybody here representing them? I go to the local newspaper to get a copy of the police report that had been printed. I'm talking to the young lady across the counter, and she asked me what had happened. I told her. She said, you know, that might be interesting news. I said, great. So they brought a young man out, and he asked me what was the story. So I related the story again, the same as I have to you, with a few more gory details. And he says to me, so what you're telling me is that you used a legally possessed, legally concealed firearm to defend your life. I said, yes. He said, not interested, and turned around and walked away. Had that been a child I shot, I'd be front page. This is the problem. The news isn't getting out there. We don't know about these things taking place.
What newspaper?
It was a local one, the one I do not subscribe to. I like to hit him in the pocketbook real quick.
A very local one. Down the block.
Okay, how do we resolve this, guys? What do we do about it? We start to engage people in conversation. But before you do that, you get your facts straight. Now, I've given you a few of them up here. You can research them. They're all out there on the internet, which doesn't necessarily mean they're true. But I've also gotten some pretty reliable sources for this information. But get your facts straight first. Because these people tend to argue with emotions. And you don't want to get into that. So keep your facts straight and don't let yourself get pulled into an argument. Next trick is initiate conversations. Anybody here ever go shopping? Has there ever been a person in front of you or behind you? Or has there been a checkout clerk? Hey, there they are. There's our targets right there. I've gone to a restaurant, had a waiter or waitress. Have you ever sat in a waiting room at the doctor's office? Anybody? Yeah, right. This is a prime area to get our side of the story out. You know, sitting there, oh boy, my finger's just killing me today. Oh, really? What's wrong? Oh, I've been shooting trap all morning. And I think I sprained my finger. It sounds ridiculous. They say, oh, you're a shooter? Yes. Well, I don't like guns. Well, any particular reason? Well, they kill people. So you don't like a lot of things. Yeah. Okay, see where I'm going with this? Engage, but have your facts up and going. Make sure you tell them right. Don't argue with them, and don't get emotional. We've got to get our side of the story out there. And the way we're going to do it, we're going to start talking to people. But guess what, folks? It starts here, it starts now, and it starts with you. Thank you.
You know, when I first met him, he didn't look that funny to me, but thank you. You know, when I had a chance to sit here, folks, I noticed a couple of other people that I really need to recognize. I see Robin Hoffman out there, former Paradise City Councilwoman. And who else did I see? Most importantly, Mike Zuccolillo. Mike is our Republican Central Committee Chair. And one of the paramount goals of this Tea Party leadership is to, have you ever noticed when there's a three-way race, Republican, a Democrat, and a Tea Party? The Democrat always wins because we're fighting amongst ourselves.
That's right.
We need to start, nobody in this room dislikes Barack Hussein Obama more than Hillary Clinton, but they always hold hands and vote together. That's what the Republicans and the Tea Party need to start doing. Thank you, Mike, for your help.
Right.
Our next speaker, Undersheriff Kory L, started out not to be in law enforcement. His first vocational choice was to be a ballet dancer. Okay, I made that up, but I got to tell you why. I emailed the sheriff last week and I said, send me a bio for you and the undersheriff so I can introduce him to the people. And he didn't do it, so I've had to ad lib. So